Good morning and welcome back to the Weaver's Way. And as you can probably tell, it's winter now. It's been several months since I was walking this route, and I've picked it up just at Hickling, and I'm now entering the Norfolk Wildlife Trust Hickling Broad Nature Reserve, which covers the entirety of Hickling Broad and Heigham Sound, Duck Broad, as you can see down here. And there's nature trails all around the reserve from Hickling side. Now sadly the Weaver's Way doesn't actually go anywhere near that part of the reserve, but it does follow the southern end, and there is a bird hide in about half a mile or so, so I'm going to have a little look and see what birds there are about. This section is going to run from Hickling all the way to Acle, which is probably the best place to stay overnight. There's really good public transport links with buses into Norwich and Great Yarmouth, and also a train link as well if you can't find any overnight accommodation in Acle itself. And most of it is actually going to be on footpaths, which is really nice. So I've got this whole section which is about 5 miles of footpath all the way around Hickling, right to Potter Heigham Bridge. I'm going to cross the medieval bridge and then join the edge of the River Thurne, which will take me down through Thurne and then to join the River Bure to Acle. So I've just arrived at the bird hide that I spent so many evenings when I was a young kid in, just looking over Rush Hill. Now Rush Hill is not actually a hill, it's a scrape, which is this vast open area of water here, and the water level is usually probably half a metre lower. It's really high. Look, it's actually coming up to the front of the hide, and normally you can walk down to the dike just over there. But this is one of the best places to spot some of the rarest wildlife in Norfolk. There are bitterns here. We've seen bitterns from this hide. There is actually a marsh harrier just flying past over there at the moment, which is lovely to see. They've had a really good comeback in the recent sort of 10 years or so. There's a hide over here. You can't get to that one, only by boat, and that is organised from the Wildlife Trust Reserve on the far side of Hickling Broad over there. And there's a tower hide that you can see from this bird hide as well. Now what I'm going to do now is follow this lovely path, which is out of the water. I did have to almost swim through a bit earlier, and it's going to take me along a meandering path all the way around these woodlands and then to Heigham Sound, which is another large sort of broad, followed by Decoy Broad, I think it was called, and then eventually to the River Thurne. So I'm walking the rest of this route in winter now, and we've had so much rain recently that the path is so flooded. Look at this. This is where the Broad, which is only just over there, is completely overflowed, and it's just going down into the surrounding marshland. Now, I've actually packed some wellies, so I'm alright to go straight through, but even with boots on, you wouldn't get through that without it going over the top. So I've just passed Heigham Sound, which is probably only 500 metres or so over there, and next to that was Duck Broad. I said Decoy Broad earlier, it's Duck Broad, and I've arrived at Potter Heigham marshes, and there are some lovely areas of water next to me here. These are all relatively new. I think they were dug about, I want to say 6 or 8 years ago, and the idea is that it's going to create massive areas of reed bed and open water and habitats that have been lost over the years because of grazing. I was so lucky that when I turned up, I managed to get a shot of it as well. There was a great white egret just fishing on the edge of this pond here, and there's lots and lots of widgeon as well over there. Now I'm heading up to Candle Dyke, which was a really popular area for my dad to go fishing, really popular with fishermen. I'm sure I won't be surprised if I see one or two. I can see Martham Drainage Mill over there. That actually dates to 1908 and is grade 2 listed and stands at 4 stories high, and it's got your traditional boat-shaped cap to it as well, really nicely restored. And behind that is the Church of St Mary in Martham, which is 14th century and grade 1 listed. But what I'm going to do now is head round and join the River Thurne, which will take me right down into Potter Heigham. So I've almost arrived at Potter Heigham Bridge now, and here is High's Drainage Mill. It is beautifully restored and dates to the mid-19th century and grade 2 listed. And I can see some doors open down there where there's the mill workings, and this one most likely would have been used to pump out the marshes to drain them for grazing. This wonderful structure here is Potter Heigham Bridge, and it actually dates to the 14th century, the oldest part being these 2 diagonal arches at the side there, and then this curved arch in the middle is 15th century. and it's actually protected as a scheduled ancient monument and a grade 2 star listed building. All these extra bricks were actually added in the 18th century, and it's quite common. You can see repair works where cars and buses have actually gone straight into the wall when they've tried to go over it. So Potter Heigham is actually a really good place just to break down this section from Hickling to Acle. There's a really decent cafe, there's like a burger van, there's a shop called Latham's, which is like a department store, but it sells food as well, so you can really top up on supplies and have a good rest and enjoy all the scenery around the bridge and the river. So we finally got to the end of the houses just beyond Repstays, and you can see it's really flooded, but we've just been told by a couple of walkers that the next section around River Thurne is pretty dry, so we're able to pick the speed up a little bit. What's really amazing actually is just as we got here we can hear the call of some common cranes, and unlike the name would suggest, common cranes are really rare, but they do nest just near Hickling Broad, so the best chance to see them is actually just around Heigham Sound. But by the sound of it, they've landed in some of the fields near here. Going to keep an eye out for them, but for the moment they're remaining quite elusive. So we're almost at Thurne Mill, which is a really impressive mill and a proper landmark for this area. It's painted pure white and dates to 1820 and given a grade 2 star listing, so it's got that little bit extra protection over most of the other mills in the county. And from there I will follow a footpath up past the church. It goes through a couple of small hamlets, one called Ashby and one called Oby, and then I'll rejoin the River Bure and follow that round to Acle Bridge, and then round into the tiny little town or big village, I'm not sure which, of Acle, and that's where I will finish this section of the walk, leaving one last day across the marshes to Great Yarmouth.